What's going on, YouTube fam? I'm Ary and I'm your multilingual bestie. Why the heck do I even like languages? I'm a singer. Why the heck do I even bother with languages? When I started liking languages, because a few key happenings in my life really made me open my ears up, but ultimately growing up in an English and French household gave me the advantage of knowing, two languages before even the age of 4. On top of that, I'm a singer. Both my parents are musicians. So I think we have really good listening skills, not because it's in our genes or anything, but because I've been exposed to other musicians. Therefore, I've kind of learned from them how to listen and imitate what I hear, I want to sing in many different languages and discover music and people from around the world, because the world is so big and I haven't heard everything or seen everything or learned about every culture yet. There's so many tiny little ones that are overlooked and never talked about, or just not known in the public so much, or at least in the mainstream of Western society, you know what I mean? That's what makes me extremely curious. That's what I'm really, really curious about. But that wasn't always the case though, especially in terms of languages. Like, I really used to hate learning languages. And let me backtrack a little bit. So I want to sing in many different languages, discover music and people from around the world. And I think music is a universal language too. I think that if you listen to a song that you like that's in Spanish and you don't speak Spanish, you'll still end up liking that song. You know what I mean? So I do listen to a lot of songs from languages I don't understand, but it always gives me a high to kind of learn how to say different things in languages. Yeah, I really want to be fluent in at least 5 in my life. So I would say my French and my English are fluent, native. Like, they both have different accents because I've spent years of my life only in French and then other years only in English. So that kind of influences how I speak them, I find. But right now my Spanish, I would say, is almost fluent. My German is pretty good. I'd say intermediate, advanced. And my Tamil is probably an advanced beginner, almost intermediate. That's it. Wait, French, English, German, Spanish, Tamil. Yeah, okay. So if I could learn these all to a fluent level, I think that'd be really, really cool. So that's my life goal. There are other languages on my list that I really want to start to learn. I know a lot of Turkish words, so that would be a goal of mine, as well as Farsi, because some of my extended family is Persian, so it'd be really cool to be able to speak to them, freely, and with the option of not always, using English. But yeah, let's go back to when I was a kid. I actually used to hate learning languages. I did not give a shit about it, because I remember just being 2 and 3 years old. My dad only spoke to me in French and I only spoke English at the time, and I would be like, no, mommy's language. I did not care about learning French, and I didn't know that mommy's language was called English. But ultimately my parents ended up settling in Quebec when I was a very young child. So once I started going to daycare and school, no one spoke English. Maybe one kid one time, and I did go to her birthday party. I remember this. I think I was like 3 and 4 years old. But yeah, so I had to start learning Papa's language because almost no one spoke English. At that point, I started to grow up in more of a French environment. I kept making mistakes a little later than the other kids did because I had a different mother tongue. This was pointed out to me in school a few times, even by teachers. Not in a bad way or anything, but it definitely makes you feel a little bit different as a kid. So I think that's why I wasn't really into languages. It left me feeling like there was a barrier between myself and the rest of the world. And then when I met other people, or even other kids that didn't really know French or didn't really know English, it always made me a little bit shy with them because I was afraid of being misunderstood or misunderstanding them. But that fear had to change really quickly, because once my parents were no longer together, which was amicable, by the way. My mom moved downtown Quebec City, and I was lucky to spend a lot of time in both households. My parents got along just fine, and so did I with them. But downtown, my mom and I ended up having a lot of different roommates from around the world, notably people who spoke different languages. So I had to start being comfortable being surrounded by languages that I couldn't understand. And I actually started singing in Romanian by the age of 12. But I think the biggest turning point was when I was 15. I discovered Tokyo Hotel, a German band, and it made me me really want to learn German, and I started to be really interested in the culture. And I even found out about a student exchange at my school that was between Quebec City and Bavaria. This was a exchange of 3 months, a student exchange where you would go stay in a family for 3 months, and then afterwards someone from that family would stay at your place for 3 months so that they can learn and practice their French. Yeah, the goal with this exchange was so that you would learn German and then go to Germany to practice it. And obviously a beautiful cultural exchange, make friends and all that. And it was the best decision I ever made to join this exchange. I made a lifelong friend, and it opened my ears up to how many other languages are just in Europe. You know what I mean? It hadn't really sunk in until I actually went there. And mind you, I was only in Germany, but in Germany, there's a lot of like other ethnicities as well. I mean, in Quebec City at the time when I grew up, there were a lot of other ethnicities, but I don't know, Quebec is so much, I guess, it's very big in comparison to how small countries are in Germany. It just made me hyper aware of other languages that were around. The Czech Republic was not too far away. There was a lot of Turkish immigrants in Germany. Yeah, it just really made me more aware of other languages and other cultures. Probably because I was also in another country, right? You ultimately just are a little bit more aware and awake, I think, when you're away from home, because you're away from your own routine and stuff that you're used to. You know, once I started looking up music in other languages, once I got back home, I really started to enjoy Turkish pop, notably Tarkan, and I went down the rabbit hole of looking into Indian pop, you know, found a whole bunch of movie clips where Prabhu Deva was dancing, and I realized that in fact one of my favorite songs in an Indian language was in Tamil, and that was Urvasi. Urvasi, Urvasi, take it easy, Urvasi. And eventually, after hearing Urvasi many times, as well as Vennilave, those were my, I think, top 3 Tamil songs. One day, you know, I was maybe, how old was I? Do I want to say how old I was? I don't know. A few years later, I thought, wouldn't it be so funny if I covered a Tamil song on my channel, you know? But I was really surprised with how well it was received. I was really self-conscious about my pronunciation though. Like, I didn't have any Tamil friends at that age. You know, I had online Arab friends that helped me with Habibi ya Noor Alain, Habibi ya Noor Alain, you know, and the pronunciation of that. And I had a lot of Romanian friends that helped me, you know, sing, you know. So I was completely in the dark when it came to Tamil music. So, you know, I ended up singing Vaz Kayil instead of Var Kayil, which means like in life, I think. And thus I ended up going into languages and cultures in Cégep, which is what comes before university in Quebec. And there I strengthened my German and my Spanish, which, by the way, I forgot to mention, I did Spanish my last year of high school instead of English because I had finished all the English classes. Yes. But yeah, and so after doing my Cégep in languages, I did my college in musical theater, which is ultimately what I wanted to do most. Like, I wanted to sing, act, and dance. Language learning had really taken the back burner, and recently I took a lot more initiative in perfecting my Spanish and finally learning Tamil.
Is why. Sister. Okay.
I always knew that I was going to learn it one day, and then one day is now. Tamil's my priority right now. I think I'm aiming to learn Farsi next. You know, it'd be really cool one day to learn Turkish, Arabic too, and Norwegian and Italian, because they're both in my ancestry. And I also really like to learn about minority languages, especially the ones that the Western world never hears about. Every time I tell someone who's not South Asian that I'm learning Tamil, people are like,
what's Tamil?
So one of my goals in life would be to collaborate with other artists, sing in their language, and maybe get them to try to sing in my languages as well, natively or French and English, to write original songs in different languages. And I guess the goal of this channel is to open up the world's ears to new sounds and educate them on the existence of other languages and cultures that otherwise they wouldn't know about, and also for my own discovery of those things. It's just really fun. So ultimately, I think I like to be heard and understood, and those are some of my biggest values, and I want to create a world where everyone can be heard and understood. And so YouTube fam, join me and I'll be your multilingual bestie.
sabes que estoy listo para ti.
Song. Venilave, 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 vinay